Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Today marks the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency. It also marks a big change for Medicaid recipients. Now, due to a policy change, recipients will have to re-enroll for the insurance program on a yearly basis and be subject to eligibility reviews. Dr. John Moore from a Medicaid insurance provider in Maryland has some advice for residents navigating the new process.
You have to make sure that the state of Maryland has your correct address. The state will send you information about re-enrolling. There are websites that you can go to. You can contact the state of Maryland and your healthcare provider, and we can ease the process for you. You'll need insurance, right? If you have chronic health conditions, if you have diabetes, if you have heart disease, if you have cancer, you need to make sure that your treatments continue.
If you have questions about your Medicaid benefits, contact your health care provider. And as the COVID-19 emergency ends, what does it mean for your private health insurance coverage? Here's what to expect with regard to testing, vaccinations, and treatments. It's unlikely that health insurance will cover over-the-counter COVID-19 tests. You may be required to obtain a test from an in-network lab or provider and be subject to similar cost-sharing limits or prior authorizations.
You are still entitled to obtain free COVID-19 vaccines from an in-network provider, so including participating pharmacies. So the vaccine part, getting the being vaccinated is still something that you'll be able to do with no co-pays, no cost sharing, as long as you go in-network. But the federal law is no longer requiring companies to cover COVID-19 vaccines from an out-of-network provider. So that is the one differential, is where you get it will make a difference in network versus out of network. But as long as you're in network, you don't have to pay any co-pays.
And the federal government still has supplies of treatments such as Paxlovid, which will be available at no cost for a period of time. Be sure to check with your provider about co-pays and deductibles. These measures apply to private health insurance plans only and not to Medicaid or Medicare. If your insurance card has an MIA on it from Maryland Insurance Administration, that means it is considered private health insurance. Well, there are just 42 hours left before expiration of Title 42, the pandemic-era public health restriction that significantly altered U.S. immigration policy. Title 42 allows authorities to swiftly turn away migrants at the border of the U.S. Tens of thousands are at the U.S.-Mexico border in anticipation of the restriction ending. Congressman Glenn Ivey recently traveled to the border as well as to El Salvador. He's working with CASA and other groups to develop policies to help deal with the onslaught of immigrants that are expected.
And so now there's a concern that there's going to be a rush of people trying to come across the border. President Biden's taking steps to try and stem that tide. So we'll have to see how it plays out. We're certainly trying to help support those efforts. There's legislation moving forward in the House of Representatives that the Republicans are pushing. I think it's unfair, harsh, and abusive, frankly, but we'll see if we can slow that down. But at the end of the day, we want to try and help people on the ground here in Prince George's County in my district. We're going to have a town hall meeting on Saturday to help people with those issues and others, so come on out Saturday morning, 10:30 to 12 at CASA headquarters in Langley Park.
Well, that event again takes place this Saturday at 15th Street, Adelphi, from 10:30 to 12 noon. Well, the EPA announced the sweeping changes for emissions and pollutants coming from fossil fuel power plants. The agency is targeting greenhouse emissions from power plants, the second largest sources of emissions in the country. At the University of Maryland today, EPA Administrator Michael Regan said the proposed limits and guidelines will reduce carbon pollution. He says the changes are an effort to bring the nation closer to its climate goals.
Today, we're proposing new technology standards that will significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuel-fired power plants, protecting health and protecting our planet. When finalized, these technology standards are expected to avoid 617 million metric tons of carbon dioxide by the year 2042.
We're talking about a reality of power plants and factories that are spewing toxins into the air and into the lungs of our friends and our neighbors and our children. So at this historic moment, in this life of the nation, in this life of our planet, in this life of our state, our job is to make sure that we do not miss this moment, and our job is to make sure that everybody understands how this is impacting everybody and not just some.
The EPA will take comments on these plans for 40 days after the publication in the Federal Register. There will also be a virtual public hearing and a virtual training impacting communities and tribes. For more information, log on to epa.gov. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Coming up, a special day of care for the unhoused community. We're in Kentland for the story next. Stay with us.
My name is Jeff. Having a traumatic brain injury is understanding you were a lot smarter before the accident. I lost so many traits. Food donations from Suncoast Center of Independent Living helped me tremendously. It can mean fully paying the bills off. That's one of the biggest gifts right there. I have a purpose again. Life goes on.
Welcome back. A nonprofit group is helping to bring smiles to the faces of mothers impacted by homelessness. This is the scene at the Prince George's Ballroom in Kentland this afternoon. The organization, A New Inspired Change, is back for its 13th annual Mother's Day event. The group spent the day pampering moms with lunch and massages, as well as having their hair, nail, and makeup service.
And I want every woman to leave feeling like we planned the day specifically for them. And we see the change. We have women that come that don't want to come, because sometimes when you're in this type of environment, you really want to sit in the shelter and try to figure out what your next move is. But sometimes the programs make it mandatory, and when they come, they're not smiling. And when they leave, and we have the pictures, and that for me is the motivation. Looking back at the pictures, and I can see the transition of the women when they come in and when they leave.
150 women from across the state registered for that event. A new report by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments indicates homelessness in the region is up from last year. COG says nearly 9,000 people in the area are experiencing homelessness. That's up 18% from last year. The report also indicates the area is seeing a rise in older adults who are homeless. COG says local shelters are not prepared to meet their health needs.
They can present with, much more serious health conditions, and our region shelters are not really prepared to care for people with the kinds of frailties or vulnerabilities that can come with older age. Not that old age is a disease, but they're more likely to present with issues like things like cancer or cognitive decline, pre-dementia, other sorts of, higher medical needs. And most of our region shelters are just not equipped to be able to handle those kinds of special needs.
And currently, Prince George's has more than 650 homeless residents. D.C. has the highest total in the area, of about 4,900. Well, two 6-year-old classmates get the chance to be military pilots for a day at Joint Base Andrews. Brian McAllister in the red and Kareen Barrett were selected by the Check 6 Foundation and were honored today at a ceremony at National Harbor. Both boys who received flight suits attend Davidson Elementary School in Anne Arundel County and are suffering serious illnesses.
Personally, it's self-gratifying to see the kids laugh and have fun and forget about all their pains and what they're going through. And that's why we do what we do, because you don't know if it's going to add a day, a week, a month, a year or something to their life. And we want to see them smile and keep being happy as they go through whatever they're going through.
The foundation has been creating great memories for seriously ill children since 2006. The boys report to Joint Base Andrews tomorrow morning for their full day of fun. And the Greater Prince George's Business Roundtable is celebrating 20 years. A who's who in Prince George's County gathered at MGM National Harbor for a celebration this afternoon. Organizers say the Business Roundtable has made tremendous progress working along with the county on issues such as public safety and education. Today's event included the debut of the 2023 Quality of Life Index for Prince George's.
The Quality of Life Index measures 6 components of government, the very important ones. I won't name them all, but certainly public safety, education, healthcare, transportation, recreation. Those are things that are important to people. And we actually, in this edition, look back 10 years and compare that with today. So it's quite a contrast. And one of the things that really stands out is the median price of a home in Prince George's County has gone up to $400,000. That's something that we weren't sure we'd reach a few years ago when it was only 2-something. So it's doubled during that 10-year period.
Jim Eastep is a former Prince George's County Council member. And still to come on the news tonight, Simon Buggs with your Thursday Sports Page. Stay with us.
Hey sports fans, and coming up soon, the outcome of the matchup between Bowie State and East Stroudsburg University softball teams, 2 members of the UMD men's lacrosse team's dreams come true, and baseball prospect Jackson Holliday speaks on joining his new team. Don't move.
Hey boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it.
You can talk to me.
It's been really hard for me.
And the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments announces its 2023 Foster Parents of the Year. The honorees come from 10 jurisdictions in our area, including Prince George's. Meet Donnell and Daniel Wallace Powell. The Wallace Powells have fostered 9 children since becoming certified in 2019. They both say they want children in their care to experience all the joys of life.
My desire is to experience life, all the fun sides, all the joy. I think as a parent, it's your job to make sure they have the necessities of food and clothes, but all the other stuff you have to give them too. A lot of times when kids come into care, they've experienced a type of trauma. So we have family and friends and loved ones who are close. They just gravitate to them and we want them to have a good time.
It's okay to ask for help. It takes a lot from you when they leave. And so you're gonna need that support to lean back on, to build you up and hopefully get ready for the next one.
And this is the 20th year that COG has partnered with local and state agencies to recognize foster parents.
Okay everyone, it's time for your Thursday Sports Page. We'll start with some softball news. The Bowie State softball team matched up against East Stroudsburg University today in the NCAA D2 Atlantic Regional. But the Lady Bulldogs will fall to the Lady Warriors 6-2. Switching sports, the UMD men's lacrosse team does a good job of developing players, and that was shown recently as 2 players from the team were drafted into the Premier Lacrosse League by the Atlas Lacrosse Club. The first was Brett Macker, who was taken 2nd overall in the draft. Macker, who was a defender for the Terps, was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in 2022 and 2023. He was also an All-American in 3 of his last 4 seasons. The second player, Kyle Long, a former midfielder for the Terps, was taken 27th overall. Long has had an impressive year, scoring 10 goals and 20 assists in 15 games played. He's also been a 2-time All-Conference honoree and was an All-American honorable mention in 2022. Switching to baseball, after performing well for the Delmarva Shoebirds, Baltimore Orioles prospect Jackson Holliday was recently called up to the Aberdeen Ironbirds. Holliday, who was selected number 1 overall in the MLB draft a year ago, says he is excited to be a member of the team.
It was really neat. It's a little different, like you're moving on up, which was kind of cool. The guys in Delmarva were awesome. The coaching staff was great, so I was kind of sad to see them, like wave bye to them. But I'm excited to be here and just trying to get out of here as fast as possible now. That's the new goal.
The Ironbirds are a High A affiliate of the Orioles. They're on the diamond tonight against the Hudson Valley Renegades at 7:05. And that is your Thursday Sports Page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thank you, Simon. That's CTV News for tonight. I'm Byron Scott. Good night.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
My advice to all the fathers out there, they grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment